My relationship with Rahul is limited to the point of non-existence because your breed,
Yes.
which you are joining now, of media commentators are liars.
Describe the following political figures in exactly one word. P. Chidambaram,
Dodgy.
Narendra Modi,
Awful.
Rahul Gandhi.
Don't know.
You did say that Chaiwala cannot become Prime Minister.
That Modi is a man, a neat jat man. Lies, lies, lies. I think you're being extremely unfair in not describing the BJP as totally authoritarian. Kabhi nahi, kabhi nahi, kabhi nahi.
Hello and welcome to the Delhi Union. For this interview, we have with us Mr. Mani Shankar Aiyar, who has been a minister several times, a close advisor to Rajiv Gandhi, a close advisor at a point to Rahul Gandhi as well, and a member of Rajya Sabha till 2016.
You got it wrong at 2 points. I was never a close advisor to Rajiv Gandhi. I was his joint secretary. So I was a faithful slave rather than an advisor. And as for Rahul Gandhi, I had hoped he would want me as a close advisor, but he has never wanted me. So I have no relationship of any meaningful significance with Rahul Gandhi. Forgive me for interrupting your interaction.
No, at all. No problem at all, sir. What I meant to say was, in the UPA years, you've been a significant voice and an influence for sure in cabinet in various capacities. So, the first question is that you've been in the Congress party for decades and were incredibly close to Rajiv Gandhi ji. Yet today, it seems as though the old guard or the G23, which was headed by Ghulam Nabi Azad, did not include you. And the new guard under Rahul Gandhi ji has also not, you've not found your way there yet. Why is it that despite your seniority, you have struggled to build a solid base of support within the party?
I never tried to. I didn't come into politics in order to promote myself in the traditional way. I had hoped that my educational background, my professional background, and my deep interest in history would enable the party to utilize certain qualities that are not to be generally found among politicians. And while Rajiv certainly saw that, and although I was just a civil servant, he utilized me for his Panchayati Raj projects, for his disarmament policies, for his advocacy of non-alignment, for his advocacy of good relations with China and Pakistan. I would never describe myself as a close advisor of his. Indeed, when I was going to my first election in 1991, I deliberately stopped off at his office and went in unannounced to meet him to say that I was heading out to Madras. But in my constituency, everyone was describing me as an Iniya Nanbar, which translates as a close friend of the Prime Minister. And I said, so please don't feel embarrassed. If when you're introduced, somebody describes me as your close friend. And Rajiv smiled at me and said, aren't I your friend? And those were the last words he spoke to me. Wow. Because he was coming to my constituency when 11 hours before he was assassinated. Thereafter, Mrs. Gandhi, who I think didn't quite approve of the chumminess between her husband and myself, she decided that since he was no more, she had to put her hand on my shoulder. And therefore, it was only because of her that I became a cabinet minister. The others were so opposed to it that till the last moment I didn't believe that I was going to be made a cabinet minister. I thought if my luck held, I'd become a deputy minister or a minister of state. But to be a cabinet minister, I owe it entirely to Srimati Gandhi. But then Mr. Chidambaram, as home minister, complained to her about me in 2010. And that ruined my relationship with the family. Then, when Rahul became the vice president, he actually said to me of his own volition that, I used to agree with you 75% about the importance of Panchayati Raj, but now I agree with you 100%. And I said to myself, boy, I'm now going to really rise. Instead of which, within 4 months of saying this, he asked his mother to call me in and dismiss me from my only post in the Congress party, which was the national convener of the Rajiv Gandhi Panchayati Raj Sangathan. So my relationship with Rahul is limited to the point of non-existence. So I don't think it's fair at all to compare my relationship with the father with my relationship to the son.
Certainly. So Congress is often accused of having an authoritarian internal culture. And I wouldn't be wrong in saying that as opposed to other parties, especially the Bharatiya Janata Party. For instance, the decision to appoint Dr. Manmohan Singh as Prime Minister, many cabinet ministers, including Dr. Karan Singh and higher working committee members, have said it was a surprise to them because Mrs. Gandhi just went up and announced Dr. Manmohan Singh, and they all thought it was going to be Pranab Mukherjee. What were the scenes like behind the scenes? And what did you think about the top-down announcement without broader party consultation?
Well, first, I think you're being extremely unfair in not describing the BJP as totally authoritarian. The fact of the matter is that Modi is everything in the BJP, and not a fly, at least not a saffron fly, moves without his orders. So that comparison is totally odious, and I reject it. But if you're talking about the Congress party, yes, it is not a democratic party within. Yes, the Gandhi family has an authoritarian hold over the party, but it is a voluntary authoritarianism because there is no reason why anyone would want to be a congressman if he did not accept the legitimacy of the Gandhis in the party. And I assure you, as one who has been all but thrown out of the party, that the reason why people like this Modi constantly attack us as a dynastic party is that he well knows that if the Gandhis were to come under a bus tomorrow, the Congress party would cease to exist.
So you can't be with the Gandhis, but you can't be without them either.
We are an authoritarian party, but it is a voluntary acceptance of that authoritarianism.
So now my next question is this. Rahul Gandhi is undoubtedly the de facto leader of the Congress today. Rajiv Gandhi was also undoubtedly the leader of the Congress at the time. But if there was the Gandhi name removed from the two of them, do you think that they would still retain power? And do you think they're the most competent men, at least in Rajiv ji's case, to have led the party and led the country at that time?
I personally was shocked on the 31st of October to find that a man who had grown up as an Indian Airlines pilot was going to be made the Prime Minister of India when the Pranab Mukherjee, whom you mentioned, was not even going to be the interim Prime Minister like Gulzarilal Nanda had been. And therefore, after the Sikh riots, in which I didn't know who was going to target us because my wife is Sikh, so I didn't know whether we'd be the target of a Hindu mob or, since I was born in a Hindu family, whether we would be the target of a Sikh mob. Yes. So I actually went to the voting booth to vote against Rajiv Gandhi. But it turned out that my name was not on the voters' list. And so I couldn't fulfill my desire to vote against Rajiv. But the next thing that happened was I was inducted into the Prime Minister's office. And then I watched with amazement this young man who was barely 40 solving first the Punjab problem, which had defeated his mother, then solving the Assam problem, which had also defeated his mother, then solving the Mizoram problem, which had also defeated his mother, and then solving the Darjeeling problem, where I had a little role to play, and Ghi Singh was dead set for a Gorkha land independent of not only Bengal but independent of India. So this man was a huge problem solver, and he had a simple formula which very few people understood, that if you give the opportunity to the principal insurgent to form the government, then because he's an insurgent and not a governor, he will fail. And then the Congress will come back. So it was only a temporary sacrifice. But as far as the opponent was concerned, whether it was Mr. Badal or what is his name, Surjit Singh Barnala, or whether it was Profanto Mohanto or Praful Mohanto, or it was Laltan Hola, not Laldenga, or Subhas Ghi Singh. Every one of them was won over by being offered gratuitously on a platter the freedom or liberation or whatever they called it, which they were fighting for.
Understood.
And in each of these cases, the Congress came back to power, sometimes in less than 5 years.
So Rajiv Gandhi's life is surely interesting, and there were certain things he did which made him be seen by the public as indecisive, particularly things to do with the Shah Bano case, as well as the opening of Ram Janmabhoomi. And there were certain political miscalculations which we may see today, especially with the Shah Bano case.
I think you're completely misconceived, but part of a very large group of Indians who think he was indecisive. In fact, he was decisive. And you've just given a book that I wrote to your friends who are sitting here called The Rajiv I Knew, and why he was the most misunderstood Prime Minister of India. And that explains all the questions that you raised in high detail. Now, we don't have the time for me to read through 300 pages.
But the viewers surely can. I'll attach it over here. Yeah.
In a few words, I could explain. As far as Shah Bano was concerned, the Supreme Court of India, on a petition filed by a Muslim activist who was actually not a genuine Muslim because he was a communist, but a very well known name, at least of my generation, Daniel Latifi, in September of 1986, filed a writ petition against Rajiv's Muslim Women what is it called? Something on divorce, Rights on Divorce Act, 1986, saying that this is anti-feminine, that it is appeasement of Muslim extremists, etc. The Supreme Court, of course, took its time, in this case 12 years, no, 15 years, to come to a decision. But unanimously the Supreme Court ruled that far from having overturned Chandrachud's judgment, Rajiv had actually implemented it, because his act said that the meher will be returned and the settlement, the financial settlement, which is in lieu of alimony, as it's called in Christian law, will be settled not for the period of iddat, but during the period of iddat. And that meant that in that 3-month period, he had to settle everything on the wife. And because wives in Islam are allowed to get married, in fact, encouraged to get married, there is no social stigma attached to a divorced woman. So, under these circumstances, what Rajiv did was to obey the fundamental principles of Islamic practice, but to completely modernize it by changing one word.
Yes.
For the period of iddat into during the period of iddat. That was his genius. And that is why all divorce cases among Muslim women are being settled since the year 2001 under his act. It's still on the statute books. And not even this wretched Modi has been able to withdraw that act. So your basic conception that Shah Bano showed his indecisiveness rather shows your indecisiveness. It does not reveal indecisiveness on the part of Rajiv Gandhi. The second thing you mentioned was the Babri Masjid. Now, there I have established, I think, conclusively in my book that it was not Rajiv Gandhi, but Arun Nehru who arranged for opening the locks. And he did not inform Rajiv because he knew that Rajiv would never allow it. So you can't expect a prime minister to think that the most important person in his party will conduct a conspiracy behind his back. And therefore, the minute he came to know that Arun Nehru was behind it, he had an inquiry conducted. He then removed Arun Nehru from the cabinet and from the party. And the result was that Arun Nehru then seduced VP Singh and Arif Mohammad Khan to come out of the party with him. So it was not he, but the others. Where I do fault Rajiv, and I have said it in all three of my books, is that he allowed R.K. Dhawan, whom he had kept out, to come back into the establishment in February 1989. And under the thoroughly wrong advice of R.K. Dhawan, he decided to do a Shilanyas to appease the Hindus, but preserve the Babri Masjid, to appease the Muslims. What happened was that the Muslims saw the Shilanyas and voted against him, and the Hindus saw the Babri Masjid standing and voted against him. So he paid the price for an act of decisiveness which he undertook on the advice of a man he had watched for 10 years and kept out of his administration for 5 years. I don't know whether you mentioned Bofors. Okay, I won't go into that. But the charge of indecisiveness on probably the most decisive prime minister we've ever had is a charge I thoroughly refute. The indecisiveness was on the part of P.V. Narasimha Rao, who knew 18 languages but couldn't make up his mind in any one of them.
Certainly, sir. And I'm not the one calling anybody indecisive. I'm just saying this is a charge often levied on the Prime Minister, and you've clarified that very well. Now, moving on, sir, there is a saying which has become sort of infamous nowadays, which is when a big tree falls, the earth shakes. And this saying is often said that, well, it wasn't Rajiv ji who wrote it, it was one of his administrators. And some may even say that you were part of the administrator. So where did this saying come about, and what was going on in Rajiv ji's head when he said it?
I'll give you the background.
Yes.
But before I do that, I have to certify the authorship.
Yes.
It was entirely Rajiv Gandhi himself who said it, not his administrators. It was alleged that Javed, what's his name, the great Urdu poet and film writer, Javed Akhtar, was the one responsible.
Wow.
But in fact, it was only Rajiv Gandhi. Now, what was the background? He said this on his mother's birthday, which falls on the 19th of November. The rioting against the Sikhs, or the pogrom of the Sikhs, had ended on the 3rd of November. And how did it end? Let me begin by saying, how did it start? It started under a home minister who was the senior most minister of his mother, a man whom destiny had kissed to become the prime minister in succession to Rajiv Gandhi.
Who was this?
P.V. Narasimha Rao.
Oh.
Or otherwise called P.V. Teflon coated Narasimha Rao. He was the man who was the home minister. Who was the lieutenant governor of Delhi? There's a man called Gawai, a very senior ICS officer. Who was Rajiv? He was a pilot till the 30th of October and the Prime Minister of India on the 31st of October. So he left law and order
up to them,
to his mother's most trusted and most senior minister, and a lieutenant governor whom he had not chosen, who had been chosen by the previous government for his competence, for nothing else. And when he found that neither of these jokers, and I'm using the word advisedly, neither of these jokers was able to do anything, they couldn't even call in the army from the Delhi cantonment. Later, much later, I met Major General Jamwal in Jammu. He was in charge of the cantonment here. And he told me that as a matter of deliberate policy, the army unit stationed in the Delhi cantonment is always kept undermanned so as to prevent a coup d'etat. And that is why the bulk of the army is kept in Meerut. And it took Narasimha Rao longer than it took the mutineers in 1857 to come from Meerut to Delhi. And what Rajiv did on the second night was that he decided that since these two jokers were not solving the problem, after he'd made numerous appeals on television and the radio, including the famous line, "My mother said, do not shed blood, shed hatred." That was a line from one of Rajiv's speeches at that time. It's never quoted because there is a vested interest which wants to only quote what he said on the 19th. So Rajiv then, against the advice of security, got into his own jeep, which was not bulletproofed at that time. That took a little time to get done. He got into his jeep. He went first to Trilokpuri at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then he wandered off to several of the places where atrocities against the Sikhs had been committed and came back and ordered the Indian army in. They were in by the 3rd of November, and there were no incidents, at least in Delhi, after the 3rd of November. Now, when did he say, when a big tree falls? It was on the 19th of November, 16 days after he had personally ensured that the earth would stop shaking. And then, when he said it, if you again read my book, I've quoted the sentence in its context. In other words, I've quoted the first two sentences before the sentence and the first two sentences after the sentence, in which he's saying that my mother would be deeply distressed to see that this community is being targeted. After all, she had been told by Hari Pillai of her security detail that he wanted to remove all the Sikhs. And she said, nothing doing. She said, I have nothing against the Sikhs. And an individual Sikh, he saw an eagle. And in Sikhism, I think you're a Sikh, even if you don't have a turban, but you're a Sikh, so you well know that the symbol of Guru Gobind Singh is the eagle. So that morning, the two of them saw an eagle nesting in the grounds of One Akbar Road. And they said, that's the signal. And therefore they positioned themselves closely. What he said was that he wanted to be on guard duty at that point because there was a toilet nearby. And he said his stomach was out of order, one of the two. And then in cold blood, they shot her down.
Not very unusual to see an eagle in Lutyens, Delhi, so I don't understand what kind of signals they were getting.
You see, this is what happens when fanaticism overcuts the mind. You're looking for vindication, and you see an eagle, and you see there is Guru Gobind Singh actually ordering me to murder this lady. So it was in this context that he said, when a big tree falls, the earth does shake a little. And Atal Bihari Vajpayee gave him the answer. He said, on the contrary, when the earth shakes a little, a big tree falls. And the whole matter should have been ended there. But you have people like, I've forgotten his name, Pulka, I think his name is. There's a lawyer he's made millions out of allegedly bringing justice to widows. And the fact is that the Raghunath Mishra report indicted one person for murder. Unsurprisingly, the man was a butcher and he just went berserk. And others have been convicted, including Sajjan Kumar, who is now before the Supreme Court asking to be released. But the fact is that justice has been done. But they are not ready to accept it. Why? Because they say that Jagdish Titler was there. Why do they say Jagdish Titler? Do they know that, like you, Jagdish Titler is a mechanized Sikh? His parents fled from Pakistan. And before they fled, the father was killed. And the mother said to them that if you get across, then go to Purana Killa. And if I get across, will come to the Sishgan Gujrwara. And sure enough, Jagdish, who was 12 years old, arrived at the Gurdwara and one day found his mother there. And that is how the family got reunited. And there was a man called Jim Titler, an Englishman, who ran a school. His school is still running. It's called Titler School in the Kashmiri Gate area. He adopted this family. And that is how Jagdish Singh is called Jagdish Titler.
I wear a kada because I respect the religion as such, but I'm not born a Sikh at least. Yeah, so I'm a Hindu. But in any case,
Anyway,
it's okay.
that's a clarification which I find important. But in the case of Jagdish Titler, he too wears a kada, but more because he was born into the faith. So this is the kind of background in which lies like this are propagated.
One particular sentence has been blown out of proportion, and it still gets used in parliament today by the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is.
And they use it because they know what a lie they're saying. After all, had he really been responsible for massacring some 3,000 Sikhs around India, why would Longowal have talked to him? Why did the Punjab Accord come? I happened to be given an office next to the Prime Minister's in Parliament House. And all these big people, Arun Nehru, Arjun Singh, they would come and wait in my room to see these people. And I didn't know what they were up to. And I was as surprised as anyone else when Rajiv walked into Parliament and unilaterally announced suo moto that he had arrived at an agreement with Longowal. And then on his birthday, the 20th of August, a month later, Longowal was shot dead for entering into this agreement. And then an election was held. It brought Barnala to power. So, would the Sikhs have trusted him so much if they thought, like Mr. H.S. Pulka, that he was a genocidist, that he was the Benjamin Netanyahu of the Congress party? Rubbish.
Yes, I agree, sir. So you have earned a reputation for giving your very candid comments at times which have not benefited your party in certain cases. I can give examples, but I'm sure you're asked about this quite often. You did say that Chaiwala cannot become Prime Minister. He's ready to.
That Modi is a man, a neat jat ka aadmi. Lies, lies, lies. What I had said in the famous Chaiwala remark, one, that interview with ANI is still on YouTube.
Yes, I've seen
All you have seen it. Then you would have seen that I never used the word Chaiwala. I didn't.
You said tea seller.
I said chai ka vitran. But when did I say it? Who called himself a chaiwala?
Modi ji.
Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi called himself a chaiwala, and I never believed him. And subsequently, it was proved that Vadnagar, which is the town where he was born and brought up, did not get a railway platform until 1973, when he was 22 or 23 years old. So how could he have served tea on the railway platform of Vadnagar? It's a lie. It's a total lie. So I had said in that interview, which apparently you've seen, and therefore you can bear me out, I said, here is a man who doesn't know that Alexander never came to Patliputra. I said that.
Yes, you did.
You remember that?
You said, how can he?
I said, how he is a man who doesn't know that Nalanda may be in India, but Takshila is in Pakistan. I said that. Yes. So I then asked, how can a man who doesn't know these basic historical facts become the Prime Minister of India? So I went on to say, Kabhi nahi, kabhi nahi, kabhi nahi. Yes, sir. And that is what shocked them. My saying confidently in January 2014 कि ये कभी नहीं प्रधानमंत्री बन सकता है. जी. And yet he became. So then at the end of that, I said हारने के बाद यदि वो चाय का वितरण करना चाहते हैं तो हम यहाँ कुछ इंतजाम कर सकते हैं. And this was picked up by Prashant Kishore. Sitting where that young lady is sitting, Prashant Kishore told me that he thought this was the golden opportunity because he was wondering what to do with the hologram, which had never been seen in an Indian election. And he thought up this idea of chai par charcha, and therefore would take a hologram to any place where BJP supporters were drinking cups of tea or coolers of tea and put Modi's hologram there. And that is alleged to have won him the election. Now, what the Congress was desperate for a scapegoat to explain why they got only 44 seats. And which easier scapegoat to get than Mani Shankar Aiyar? So that's story number one. Story number two, I had said in response to a question posed to me again by that wretched channel ANI, whom I never talk to now. They said to me that Modi that morning, that is the 6th of previous morning, that was the 6th of December, had on Ambedkar's death anniversary opened the Ambedkar Bhavan. And that during the course of that inauguration, he had said कि ये राहुल जी बाबा साहब के बारे में क्या जानते हैं जबकि वो बाबा भोलेनाथ के पीछे भाग रहे हैं. He was referring to Shiv, to Lord Shiva. And I said कि इनमें कुछ तहजीब नहीं है, कोई तमद्दुन नहीं है, कोई संस्कृति नहीं है, ये बड़े नीच किस्म के आदमी हैं. Next day I find that in 3 separate speeches, all of which are detailed in my book, he has said कि ये मणि शंकर अय्यर ब्राह्मण है और वो कह रहा है कि मैं मोदी नीच जात का हूं. 3 times over.
One way of interpreting that.
And I had said नीच किस्म का आदमी है. I was referring to his character. मैं उनके चरित्र के बारे में कह रहा था कि बड़े नीच चरित्र के हैं, कि नीच स्वभाव के हैं. और वो उसको बदलकर कहते हैं कि नहीं मणिशंकर अय्यर जो ब्राह्मण है इसलिए वो कह रहे हैं कि मैं नीच जात का हूं. And you know what the Congress did? Nothing. Without asking me, Rahul Gandhi said that Mani Shankar should apologize. So I was encountered by Republic TV.
I remember you pulled their mic as well.
That was at the end. The only thing you remember is by pulling their mic. You don't remember what they said to me that Rahul Gandhi has said you must apologize. तो मैंने जवाब में कहा कि मैं माजरत चाहता हूँ. तो उन्होंने कहा कि इसका मतलब क्या बनता है? तो मैंने कहा कि उर्दू में इसका मतलब ये है कि मैं माफ़ी मांगता हूँ. इसे तो आपने पहले क्यों नहीं कहा माफ़ी मांगते हैं? तो मैंने कहा कि क्योंकि वो भी उर्दू का शब्द है. So I mean, they are such goons. And then he kept trying to get more out of me. And there was a lady reporter who was behaving absolutely normally. She was asking me questions. And this guy kept putting the Republic thing before me. So I pushed it to one side. And of course, Arnab Goswami, the total Goebbels of Indian television, a ghastly creature whom I unfortunately brought up. He is my I brought him up.
In the sense?
He was a raw TV anchor here. And I patronized him. So much so that when he started in Times Now, he called me for an interview in which he praised me as his TV guru. Then he went to Fox News, came back with this ghastly idea of Republic, and then has criticized me. Why? Because I went to Pakistan where I referred to Jinnah as the Qaeda-e-Azam. So this chap blew up here. So I no, so but he's not after you, he's after me. So then I had to point out that in 1940, over the objections of Maulana Azad, Gandhiji started calling Jinnah Qaeda-e-Azam. And in their entire correspondence in 1943, all the letters he wrote began, "My dear Qaeda-e-Azam." And the Qaeda-e-Azam replied, "Not my dear Mahatma, but dear Mr. Gandhi." So I said, no, the chap is illiterate. He's as illiterate as our Prime Minister. I mean, can you think of a more deadly combination than that scorpion? So that is the background. Then there's another background which you didn't mention. I have a very old Cambridge friend. We joined the college together. We were born in the same year. He 2 months after me. And he became the foreign minister of Pakistan. And the best foreign minister that India ever had in Pakistan. His name is Khurshid Kasuri. He arrived in Delhi on the 6th of December. This is 2017. And I asked him to come home and to meet him to this home upstairs. To this home, Kasuri arrived, and the other guests were ex-Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, ex-Vice President Mohammad Ansari, ex-Foreign Minister Natwar Singh, ex-Chief of Army Staff Deepak Kapoor, and all the living High Commissioners who had been to Pakistan, except Satish Chandra, who's totally saffron, and a few journalists who had shown themselves to be well disposed towards Pakistan, and a very senior diplomat who's very anti-Pakistan called Chinmoy Ghare Khan. All these were present, and I asked each one of them to speak for 5 minutes. What did Mr. Modi do next day? He says, ये षड्यंत्र रचा रहे थे अहमद पटेल को गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री बनाने के लिए.
What would you guys have to do with that?
And then he went on to say, मैं जानता हूं कि ये मणि शंकर अय्यर और ये पाकिस्तानी वो सोच रहे थे, योजना बना रहे थे कि कैसे पाकिस्तान में हमारे ऊपर सुपारी ले दे.
Like we are the snakes and they're the
mafia language. He said, I was making arrangements with Khurshid Kasuri, the Mahatma of Pakistan, to take out a Supari contract through, I don't know, the Jaish-e-Mohammed or the Akshar-e-Toiba to kill him. And in answer to all this, what does Mr. Rahul Gandhi do? I don't know. Because I get a letter, I apologized because I was told to. Not because I believed it, but because I was told to. So I come home and there's a letter waiting for me from the disciplinary committee. That is A.K. Antony, chairman, Motilal Nehru, treasurer of the Congress, and Sushil Kumar Shinde, ex-chief minister, saying that I am suspended from the party. So, no, this is 2017, the 8th of December. And my famous interview has been on the 7th of December. So I have apologized on the 8th afternoon because the president of my party told me to. Then they made up the story. Why? Because they needed a scapegoat to explain why Rahul Gandhi was losing that election by 77 seats to 99. So therefore, I have been repeatedly made a scapegoat. And Mrs. Gandhi called me in the year 2002, December, and said she'd never heard of my being suspended. So then I looked up the letter again, and then I found that it said the disciplinary committee had suspended me. So I went to see all the three. Sushil Kumar Shinde said to me, "Don't come to the office. You come to the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. I'm a trustee, so I have a key. And come after dark." It was a cold December day. So I went there, dressed in my overcoat. I turned up the collar so that no one would recognize me. And I followed Shinde. And he said, "Don't answer our show cause notice until we've asked Rahulji. And if Rahulji, and what Rahulji tells you to write, you write that as your answer." So I thought this is a bizarre piece of advice. So I went to see Motilal Nehru, Motilal Vora. And Motilal Vora says, in exactly the same term, कि आप जवाब तब तक नहीं तैयार कीजिए जब तक कि हम राहुल जी से मिले हैं और वो हमें बताएंगे कि आपको क्या लिखना चाहिए और उसके आधार पर आप अपने जवाब हमें भेजिए. Next morning I go to see A.K. Anthony. He says the same thing. So then they were all pleased to know that I was leaving for Goa with my family. So they said, "आप कुछ ना करें जब तक कि आप वापस ना आए." So I came back. I rang all of them and said, "अब तक हमें मौका नहीं मिला है राहुल जी से आपके बारे में बात करने की." And ultimately in March, Anthony said to me, "Don't call me again." And then in August, I was released from my suspension. And as I told you, Mrs. Gandhi rang me. And I expect the context was that, as you had said, I was not included in the G23. Why? Because they thought I would be a stool pigeon for the Gandhis. And why did Mrs. Gandhi call me? Because I'd said to some news channel that if I had been admitted, it would have been G24. So to thwart me from joining the dissidents, the call was made. So in these circumstances, I have remained a faithful congressman. But I'm a congressman because of Mahatma Gandhi, because of Jawaharlal Nehru, and largely because of Rajiv Gandhi. To some extent of Sonia Gandhi, because without her I'd have never become a cabinet minister. But I've said I'm not a Rahulian. But the reason for that has been misunderstood. It's not because I disagree with Rahul. It's because I don't know what he stands for. He's never given me an opportunity to meet him, talk to him, discuss matters.
There was one time you said he met you and started talking about religion and Buddhist scripture and so on.
That was, yeah. So you've seen that interview. I won't repeat it. So in this, I don't know Mr. Rahul Gandhi. So how can I be a Rahulian?
Certainly. Yes, sir. So you've also frequently targeted the Prime Minister over his educational qualifications, as you have in this interview as well, that he may not be aware of certain facets of Indian history. Congress today aligns with certain parties, such as the RJD in Bihar, and many of the DMK ministers, sitting ministers in the Tamil Nadu state, who are not qualified, even 10th grade or 12th grade. Tejasvi Yadav, who was their apparent CM face, isn't educated as well.
In fact, the Congress party has, as its first prime minister, a prime minister who got a 2-2 at Cambridge. Its second prime minister was Lal Bahadur Shastri, who was a graduate, which is why to his name Lal Bahadur, he added his degree, which was Shastri. Our third prime minister was Indira Gandhi, who did not appear for her exams at Somerville, and she was succeeded by Rajiv Gandhi, who also didn't have a degree. But none of them claimed to have one. None of them claimed it. And it's because they were ready to say, "Judge me on my performance and not on my educational qualifications." Now, here is Narendra Modi, who claims that he got his BA through correspondence course from Delhi. And he has leaned on Delhi University to say that results are a private matter and cannot be published. But nobody asked my permission when I stood first in the Delhi Economics Honours exam, breaking the university record, incidentally. No one asked me before publishing my name. So, do you think I can get hold of that vice chancellor? It was VKRV Rao, so he's a bit dead. So, I really don't know how I can get compensation from him. But it was, I mean, it's been standard practice to put out the names or at least the numbers.
But don't you think to an extent that Modi ji may not have certain ideas about Indian history, he may not know about our culture as much as the other prime ministers have, would stand true for certain ministers in Tamil Nadu or even the chief ministerial candidates in just the others? Yeah, none of them are claiming to be. So that is a that is a distinction for you.
That's for me the distinction. Why cannot Mr. Modi frankly say that I did not get a BA and I did not get an MA from Gujarat University, and but I'm a very good prime minister.
And I'll try my best, hypothetically. You don't have to lie about it. That's what you're saying. You're alleging that Modi ji has lied, which is sub exactly. So now you've openly
To big trouble. How? Because you've said yes, of course, to my power for the cause.
You've openly praised the current Kerala government and leaders like Pinarayi Vijayan for sustaining the Panchayati Raj system, as well as recently you got in a controversy where you alleged that you would have it be that the current government wins again, something to that effect.
You've also probably heard my saying that in that same meeting, I heard two civil servants, one serving, one retired, giving a listing of what the achievements of the Pinarayi government were. One was Mrs. Mary Joseph, who is the principal secretary to the State Planning Board. The other was the vice chairman of the State Planning Board, whose name is V.K. Ramachandran. And then I'd also heard Pinarayi himself. I dismissed what he had to say. I listened to several of his other ministers. I dismissed what they had to say because they have no alternative to saying they did very well. But these two civil servants actually listed the achievements not in a boasting way, but in a completely straightforward way. And the people of Kerala are more intelligent even than the people of Tamil Nadu. They are even better educated. So why would they want to change a government that has scored so many successes and vote for a gathering of fighting pigeons? Because the Congress party is pitted against itself.
Fair enough. I sympathize with your view, but then again, you may have it and you're allowed to have this view, but don't you think it hurts the party because they had to be answerable to a lot of questions because of your comments?
So important. Surely they should take me into a position where I can give my advice to them. It's because I don't have a position in the Congress party. I have been denied a platform within the party for how many years? For a little longer than you've been born. For the last 22 years, I have not been given a platform within the Congress. So, therefore, following the principle of Satyameva Jayate and following the injunction of Mahatma Gandhi to always tell the truth, what they call a loose cannon, I call a truth cannon.
Wow, that can be a catchphrase for sure. But I agree with you to an extent. You must continue to speak your truth. But don't you think that overall this alleged scapegoating, which you have mentioned before as well, may not be scapegoating after all? And I'm just presenting a view here because there are certain phrases and statements you have made which have hurt the party undoubtedly, and the opposition of the Congress has been able to exploit them to the maximum effect possible. I remember as a child, even as an 8-year-old, seeing these statements and thinking, what's going on? Don't you think the statement perhaps about Modi ji selling tea or the niche admi, obviously you've clarified both.
I've just explained to you
What you meant. But
No, I've explained to you what I said.
And I agree fully.
But this was not said because your breed,
Yes.
which you are joining now, of media commentators are liars, and that's why they're in the media.
Certainly. So I wouldn't call myself a media commentator for sure, but that's why I understand your opinion now, and I sympathize with it completely.
Who was responsible for spreading this? One was Barkha Dutt, the other was Rajiv Sardesai.
Yeah.
They're highly respected. They're personal friends of mine. And yet, when the opportunity came, they couldn't resist it.
So I agree with that as well, that the media may have overplayed it, but to an extent, for example, that particular incident where Mr. Ajay Markan in the St. Stephen's College, you had said something against the Hindu college, and that caused an uproar and so on.
There's a background to that. Ajay Markan was put into the sports ministry in succession to me.
Yes.
And he had such a cordial relationship with me
Yes.
that he accepted my invitation to visit my constituency on the 8th of July.
Yeah.
I think it would have been 2015 or so, maybe earlier. Yeah. And then he rang me to say that he couldn't make it. And then the next day I see a letter in the newspapers in which he accuses me of, I've now forgotten the word. Do you remember the word?
What did he accuse you of? I don't even know this background, I'm sorry.
He used a big word to damn me. And he knew that it was not true. I've forgotten what the word was. So I said, how can? I'm from Delhi University. Were you there?
I'm at King's College in London, but yeah.
You missed out on a good education. And in Delhi University, St. Stephen's College is famed for its quips. It was Amin Saab, our history teacher, who translated the line from the Bible, which is above our proscenium arch, which said, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. And Amin Saab translated it into Urdu as Yesu ne kaha ki main noor jahan hu. That is St. Stephen's College. That is the college where my closest friend Shekhar Dasgupta said to me, after I'd been admitted into the Foreign Service, after being refused admission on the grounds of being a Marxist, when I was admitted, he said, they found that you were a Marxist, but of the Groucho variety. Now, this is St. Stephen's humor. I have been, Natwa was my closest friend and my most important patron in life. He had written in the visitor's book, K. Natwa Singh, Minister of State for External Affairs. And in the remarks column, he'd written, I am what I am because of St. Stephen's. So I sent for a pencil and wrote under it, why blame the college? Now, this is St. Stephen's humor. So in pure humor, I said, how does a BA pass from Hansraj College use a big word like this? And the answer that came from Hansraj was, he didn't take a BS pass, he was a BSc pass. So that is the way in which people who go to Hansraj College take Delhi University humor. There is no sense of irony. The word does not exist in Hindi. It is a very British thing. अब मैं तो मकौले की औलाद हूँ और यदि आप उसको मानेंगे नहीं तो मोदी जी से पूछिए वो कहते हैं कि ये अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं तो इसलिए मकौले की औलाद है.
I understand your predicament, and I understand the reason why you said it as well a little better now. And I wish the media gave you that opportunity to.
They lose their story.
Which is why we're talking.
Yeah, they won't. You laughed, but they wouldn't laugh. They don't know how to laugh. And when I told Rajdeep, I said it was in jest that I said कि वो हारने के बाद यदि चाय का वितरण करना चाहते हैं तो यहाँ हम उनके लिए कुछ इंतजाम कर सकते हैं. ये मजाक ही था. अब तक he's constantly telling people कि Modi should send a thank you letter to Mani Shankar Aiyar because he won him his election. And you almost said the same thing. That my scapegoating is not scapegoating, but I've really harmed the party. And when I asked you to give examples, you've just given the same examples that you gave earlier.
Sort of corrected as well, and this was my last one, so it's good that we've heard from you directly, at least face to face, about these particular issues, and it's good that the viewers also get a bit of a drift about these things. Now there's a fun little game we play, which is a rapid fire round, which we've done with our other people we've interviewed as well. Describe the following political figures in exactly one word. uh, P. Chidambaram.
Dodgy.
Narendra Modi.
Awful.
Not niche this time.
I think awful conveys it better.
Hanji. Rahul Gandhi.
Don't know him.
Okay. Ajay Makhan.
A petty human being.
Okay. KC Venugopal.
In Tamil, we have an expression, Kutti Shevaru, for total disaster. Yeah. Now, Mr. Venugopal's initials are K for Kutti and C for Shevaru. Kutti Shevaru Venugopal. Total disaster.
Wow. And you've also had a tussle with Mr. Pawan Khera, who's been, I would say he's a well-spoken congressman at least. And I was surprised to see that the words you had said about him. So one word about him and then your explanation as well.
I won't quote myself. Yeah. I'll quote Suresh Subramaniam, who says his eyes are set too close to each other for me to be able to trust him.
But what exactly was your issue with Pawan Khera?
He says, I don't represent the Congress in any capacity whatsoever. Yeah. I've been in the Congress for 40 years. If he had been a good spokesman, he would have said that Mr. Aiyar does not hold a post, any post in the Congress party. I wouldn't have been angry. Yeah. But to say that I don't represent I do have a capacity. Yes. I am the Kumbakonam elected member for the PCC. How can he say I don't represent the Congress in any capacity whatsoever? What he could have said is, we do not have him in any responsible post whatsoever. To
represent the views of the entire party.
Yeah. So he could have said that. But instead, because his eyes are set too close to each other, he says he doesn't represent the party in any capacity whatsoever. Yes. And then repeats it 2 years later. He said this in 2024. I kept my cool. Yeah. And then in 2026, he repeats it. Yes. Now, I'm willing to take one on my jaw, but I will not turn both my cheeks. Unlike Mahatma Gandhi, who only said he would turn the other cheek. But I've had both my cheeks knocked.
That's deeply unfortunate, sir. Apart from that, you've had a lifetime of being a Congress member, high-profile alliances, electoral.
I was first a civil servant for 26 years. Yes. But the last 5 of those, I worked as the Joint Secretary to the Prime Minister. And that is when I discovered a true congressman in Rajiv Gandhi. Yes. And I'll tell you an amusing little thing. One day he said to me, I see that you never provide me with a quotation for my mother. So I said, no, sir, she conducted the emergency. So he said, I asked you this question only because we made a watch for Jawaharlal Nehru on his centenary, which was 1989. And he says, I'm presenting you this watch because you are all the time thinking of Jawaharlal Nehru. And now you can look at him all the time because his face was on the clock, on the dial.
Wow. So what I was coming to was that you've represented India in various countries. You've also been a minister and you've certainly led very high profile and public portfolios throughout your career. What would be your one advice for the youth and any last words in the interview?
Well, my last word is my first word to the youth of India, that at least some of you must come into politics if we are to keep our politics honest and related to the problems of the country. But please don't come in if your expectation is that you will be better off tomorrow than you were yesterday. In politics, there is a wave. When you are at the peak is the start of your voyage to the bottom. And when you hit the floor of the valley is the moment when you're climbing back to the peak begins. So unless you're ready to moderate your expectations from life, from a straight curve whose gradient may be different from one person to the other, into a curve which has amplitudes like the one I'm demonstrating, don't come into politics, because you can never be sure of success and you can never be sure of failure. There are times when you'll unexpectedly find yourself boosted, and there are other times when you find yourself unexpectedly brought down. And above all, do not come into politics for the reason that Hacker in Yes Prime Minister gets from Humphrey. Humphrey says Hacker could not believe in his existence, in his own existence, until he read about it in the newspapers. So please do not be tempted by the thought that you will be seeing your name in the newspapers. That is a very false god. What you have to be is true to yourself, whether you're winning or losing. And what I learned from my mother was Polonius's line, which said, "Be true to thyself, and it follows as day the night, that thou canst be false to no man." That is my last advice to you.
That is a lovely, lovely saying you have just said, Mr. Mani Shankar Aiyar. And thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure interviewing you and learning from you.
Thank you. Thank you.